All right, welcome to another episode of Run It Back. Y'all know how we do it. We go back and we revisit movies from the past. We've done a couple that have been pretty recent, but most of them are from the past. And you know this is a segment, part of the Sports Bar Podcast group on Facebook, the SBP. If you're not a member, please go in and join. But we're going to have some fun today. We've got a great movie. As always, I'm your boy Prime. And I got my boy Source with me, and we are joined by Mr. Mark Cheatham of the Chiefs Movement, one of the Sports Bar Podcast members. Mark, what's going on, brother?
Peace, fellas. Everything and nothing all at once. It's a blessing to be here, though.
Yeah. Source, you good today?
Yeah, bro. You know how I do. I'm chilling. We're getting into this baseball as it is the early part of baseball season. So we're going to touch on a baseball movie. Actually, we're going to do back-to-back baseball movies, but this is going to be the first one.
And yes, we are doing the Sandlot today. And as you mentioned, back-to-back, we will soon be doing within the next week or two. We will be also doing a League of Their Own. So we're looking forward to that. We've been talking about doing that for a couple, since last season, actually. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so the Sandlot, 1993, gave us one of the more memorable movies, whether you're a sports fan or not. It took place back in 1962, and it's kind of a mixed bag, a coming of age story, friendship story, life lesson story, and I'm surprised. We're on with the 28th anniversary actually with this past week, and I was surprised to find out that I had some people in my age range who were just watching this movie for the first time. That's crazy. Hey, Mark, so did you see the movie like when it first came out back in 93?
Yeah. No, I'm a big baseball fan. 93, I was definitely heavy into Little League. Shout out Bethlehem Little League over in the West End. And so I was heavy into baseball, heavy into it, and I did see it then, and I enjoyed it then, and I think I enjoy it more now. I've got a 6-year-old son who we always look for family movies to revisit, and so this is fitting for me because I've watched Sandlot now, in the last year probably more than I've seen it in the last 20 years. So I'm really excited about being able to talk about it.
So Cam is a Sandlot fan?
He is, man. It's kids of a certain age, children of a certain age, they kind of get locked into something, right? If they like chicken nuggets, they're gonna eat chicken nuggets every day. Mm-hmm. So we've had a lot of movies in our home that I didn't particularly enjoy, but they had their run. And when two films that he really enjoyed, sports films that I really enjoyed the runs were Football Season, Little Giants, yes, and Baseball Season, Sandlot. And we've seen, he puts it on repeat, so I've been able to see it a bunch of times over the last probably year and a half.
Hey, so let's put Little Giants on the list, man. I ain't even
I knew you were gonna say that.
I got to have it.
I mean, but for his age range and his sports kind of intake, yeah. Those two films I know have been on quite a bit in the last couple of years.
Yeah. So, as you see it when it first came out, man?
I honestly don't remember when I saw this movie for real. I don't think I saw it when it first came out because there was no reason for me to have seen it at that time. That was at that age range where I won't think about the Sandlot or a movie with a bunch of kids. None of that, other things going on. So probably later on cable at some point.
I remember seeing it with a college buddy of mine from VCU. We went to see it. And then I also remember watching it the second time with that same college buddy a while later while we were just kicking it and on VHS, on a VHS tape. So first two times I saw, shout out to my dude Lauren from the 757. That's my guy right there. He's a huge baseball fan as well. Matter of fact, he's like you, so he's a Dodgers fan.
My man.
Yeah, so yes, I can remember the first two times that I saw it, but it was around about the time when it first came out. Um,
Did you play baseball, Prime?
I did. Well, in little leagues growing up.
Yeah.
A couple of buddies of mine. I was more the backyard guy. Let's go play. Got a bat, we play. But I remember when I turned 9, I played baseball for the first time, and I played it for the organization, recreational baseball, and I really enjoyed it. It's a lot slower than football and basketball, but I really enjoyed it. The camaraderie, which we're getting in this movie, is something that you'll never forget. It's a brotherhood. You say that about all sports, but baseball, especially in little league, sometimes you're lucky to be able to field a team. You see what I'm saying? So I can remember one year, I think we had like 11 players, period, playing one year. Then I remember another year, we actually had about 20. So, and we saw this in this movie, the tight bond that they had, they just barely could field the team. But like we found out when Smalls first meets these guys, he's moved to a new neighborhood, moved across from another state. Actually, they're in the suburbs now, I believe, of Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And he moves and he meets these guys, and he's socially awkward. And he meets these guys by following them to a place where they were playing baseball. And what do they have? 8 guys? Period. Eight guys to play. And when we talk about camaraderie, when you're growing up, the things that you remember, you think about the love for the game, and the love that these guys had for it was phenomenal, because you hear them say they never kept score. They never chose sides, and then the next day when they would come back and play again, they just pick up on where they left off. Those are the childhood memories that I have, for a lot of things, but especially for baseball. So it is what it is.
Was that?
You didn't play?
Oh no, I played all my life. So I played. So, I had my older brother's 5 years older than I am, okay. And so I grew up wanting to do everything he did, especially sports related. And so he started playing in the West End of Richmond at Bethlehem Little League So I was at the field as a child before I could play, because he was playing his games, and I'd be in the field running around with the little brothers and sisters of people that were playing. And we just couldn't wait till we got of age and it was 6 at the time. It's actually a little bit earlier now. Cam started playing a little bit earlier, but it was 6 at the time before we could play kind of our T-ball time. But I remember being at the field since I was born, waiting to turn 6 and playing our games and play. And I played all through league and did some falls and traveling. Then I ultimately played 4 years over at Tucker High School during the dark ages of really bad Tucker baseball teams. So I was on those teams. I wasn't on any of the glory year Tucker teams or the teams that got better after we left. But we were in the dark ages of Tucker baseball. And I really, to this day, I follow in Richmond. I follow the Squirrels closely. I followed the Braves when they were here years ago closely. But I love what the Squirrels have done. And I discovered a real love for the game of baseball, particularly for what you mentioned. But there's almost, to me, almost like a spiritual thing about baseball because of the pace and the time and everything that goes around the game. It's different to me because I can enjoy going to a high school game and it being slow and it's still having the kind of the elements of if you're going to a major league game.
Indeed.
I just enjoyed that, and I'll tell you, I really fell in love with. We have some really good colleges obviously in this area, and a lot of them do have baseball teams. University of Richmond, VCU, Virginia State, and I really fallen in love with seeing college baseball. It's just kind of this really, I call it one of the best kept secrets of sports. Because most people don't know about college baseball until they get to Omaha and the College World Series. But it all goes back to what you're talking about with this movie in regards to camaraderie and friendship and spirit and growing up together. I remember playing wiffle ball games in my backyard, massive massive wiffle ball games with every kid in the neighborhood would come and play in our backyard because we had a fence, and you could actually, it was a good size fence, but you could hit a home run over the fence, and it felt like a real home run. And I remember those massive games and how it continued, and really what I think the film does well, and I think what the sport does well, is it allows to kind of demonstrate those bonds in a way that's a little bit different. This film, to me, I could relate to.
Mm-hmm.
Like I played hoops too growing up, and I played other sports growing up. A lot of the films that we talk about, especially coming of age films that talk about other sports, I can't relate to them because I didn't live that life. Like I enjoy this above the rim wasn't my life. I love the basketball. I love the story.
You telling me that nobody in the West End pulled out a gun on somebody during the game? No,
but Sandlot, I think, is really relatable to a lot of folks. It's a lot of segments of suburbia that grew up in certain ways. And it worked, man. It was fun. You usually have that Benny Rodriguez kid. You usually have one kid that's usually better than everybody else. Hey, you got a couple other good folks. But I really related to the film in a lot of ways, and I think actually, like I said, watching it back with my son, the film really holds up well.
Yes.
Like it holds up extremely well in 2021. As it did in 1993. It was really
well, I'm gonna tell you what's funny when you were mentioning about every team has a Benny Rodriguez. You ever notice, or maybe it's just me, but me coming up, every team always had that kind of chubby kid too, like and like I look at my guy Ham, like he wasn't like overly big, but he was, every team I can think of that I played with at some point growing up as a kid, there was always that one chubby kid, on it, and that's just like it just felt right. Like the team didn't feel right if you didn't have that one guy on it. He might end up being the catcher,
you probably got in some fights behind the pitcher.
Yeah,
that he was going to talk no matter what. About the heater and all that. He was good. So they didn't show that. They never had one of those scenes, but I guarantee you there was some fights behind that picture somehow. There's always one that's just not gonna stop talking.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I played baseball from like 5 to 13, 14. Mm-hmm. 4 championships, baby. 4 of them things. I'm not saying I was the best player on the team. I'm just saying 4 championships. Like of all sports, that I played, I probably won the most championships in baseball, which is kind of wow. That's funny. But I didn't even think about the camaraderie and my own, childhood until right now, and y'all saying it, because I never really related it to us playing as kids. I don't know why though, but because we did the exact same thing,
Yeah, some wiffle ball games back then.
No, bro. We played with tennis balls.
Okay.
And around Belmont, and it was we had the plate, and one of the apartment buildings was the back of the side of the building was right there. So you didn't need a catcher because you had the wall.
Never need a catcher.
Over there, you had the apartment with the laundromat on it. Had the laundromat on the end of it. So it had the triangle, the roof, and you just make a imaginary line around, and that was a home run if you hit it past that joint. So it was like we had grass for the infield. The outfield was the street. Well, not really a street, but I guess like a driveway and a little parking area. So we had that. I mean, it was set up perfect. It was set up perfect, and we had probably 6 or 7 guys that always played, probably 4 or 5 guys that always played. And then the others would just be mixed bag. You never knew who was going to come out or who was going to be in the neighborhood that day or whatever. So, but I definitely remember, shout out to Brad, Keith, and Jeff, because those 3 were always there. And probably half Southside was the rest.
Man, that's good stuff right there. Benny, I think a lot of times that you're growing up, we remember, I know I do, having a guy that was maybe a little more athletic or really good at a lot of things. Shout out to my guy, Mike Lewis. That was my guy. But, you really gravitate towards Benny's character because he's a caring character. And this, he took the time, to get, Smalls, made him feel more welcome, to kind of get him in the mix with the guys. And you don't always see that because a lot of times you see there's that one character that's so good and so popular that he just kind of cares about himself, But this one, he was genuine. He took the time, even gives him a hat, tells him to burn that old hat that he had, and you can tell this guy's a real baller though, because when Smalls tries to give him his glove back, he says, "Nah, you keep it." Benny's probably got like 5 or 6 other gloves at the house, so, real genuine character.
I think you're right in the sense that I think he's a nice kid.
Yeah.
Like, I think Benny was a genuinely nice kid.
Yeah.
I also think that he needed a player. They made it clear that one of their players had moved away.
Yeah.
And Smalls coming made the team kind of whole again, right? And so I think there was a twofold. I think you're right in regards to if Benny, who again is by far the best player, if he accepts Smalls, everybody has to accept Smalls. There's no question about that. But I also think that like Benny was like, "Hey, look, we gotta get these games in. we need players on our team. He's of our age. He's in our like he can play. Come on, you're on the team. You like you said, you need a hat, you need a glove. I got you. You're on the team. He had a rough first game. Smalls had a rough first game. Come back tomorrow. You're on the team. Like he wanted, and I think that's a good characteristic of people that want to play. And I think that's also a characteristic of the age.
True.
I think as we all got older in sports, there's a little bit more like I think there's a little less tolerance and a little more rigid kind of approach as opposed to those kids at that age being like, "Hey, look, man, you got a glove. Come on, let's just go." But I think you need people like that. I think you need people all around. But I'm wondering if they had their full team and Smalls was there, would the movie have been different, right? Because they needed Smalls. They needed Smalls to make the team.
Yeah, it was. I think it was probably right down the middle. I think it was 50-50 because he was nice. He was nice. Well, he saw him at first. Smalls waved to him. He gave him the head nod, kept it moving. But then he went over and got him. Saw he was terrible. Saw he couldn't throw. Saw he couldn't catch. Made him look good by hitting the ball into his glove, which is, pretty impossible, but hit the ball into his glove and taught him how to throw at the same time. So you got to give him credit for being a decent kid.
He's a nice
but yeah, the love was definitely there. Like that was a big deal.
I can relate to somewhat. Now, I was never the socially awkward kid. I trust me, I wasn't. I had a lot of mouth and, I was real outgoing, but the part where we saw earlier that he couldn't throw the baseball. He always walking it up, right?
Man, his dad was whack. His stepdad was whack, bro.
Dennis Leary. That's a good. That's a whole nother. I got a question about Dennis Leary, but go ahead and tell the story, Prom. But I do have a question about.
Well, I was just saying. But I was the kid, so I used to play. I remember when I first got there, I was in the outfield, and I'm disregarding the rules, so I'm way out there. I'm in left field. But every time somebody's trying to run, go home, I'm gonna try to throw the ball home instead of trying to cut it off. The coaches had enough of that. It was like, "Oh, we gotta do something about this." The kid can hit, he can play. We're not gonna take him off the field. We got to do something different. So, after my first year, I got moved in with a little bit. So I played mostly second and shortstop. So I had a little less of a throw if I was trying to get it. Because I was always trying to bypass. With the second base, but I'm trying to throw. I'm the skinniest kid on the team. I can't throw the ball that far for real, So, so it's not really the same thing. But every time I would see that part, he couldn't throw. I could throw it. I just couldn't throw it that far. But I could kind of relate to it a little bit.
He didn't know how to throw because his dad died when he was small, and his stepdad didn't take the time to freaking show him. So he literally did not know how to throw or catch. And how many? I mean, come on, man. Like my dad, I don't even know. My parents were divorced when I was like 7. My dad never took me outside to play any sport, but I knew how to throw a ball. So he was also not athletic. Add that to the fact that he had nobody to show him anything. He was in the struggle, bro. What was your question about Dennis Leary?
Yeah, so me and my wife go back and forth on this because, like I said, we watch it together as a family. I actually thought he was a bad kid, like a bad person, like a bad character. My wife was like, no, like he actually cares about the son. Like she was low key, like she was legitimately like, yo, he's busy, like he's working, he's taking care of the family, he's obviously taking, there's a remarriage and Smalls. Like it's not like he doesn't care about Smalls. He's just like a working dad that wants to take care of the family.
And never had a son, never had a son.
I'm sitting here like, yo, this dude is trash.
Trash, bro. Trash.
But like when you watch it as much as we have, you'll be like, didn't he like want to do stuff with him or like trains or something? And then maybe at the end of the movie, he's like the mom will be like, you should take Smalls out and do something. He'd be like, yes, I would like to do that. I think at the end of the movie, they show him throwing something. And so she's like, he's not a bad dude. He's just busy. And I'm like, yo, he's a bad dude. He's like, this dude's like,
trash.
She was like, he didn't overreact, I guess, when they ultimately gave him the Babe Ruth ball mangled back up. He wasn't like.
It's because he got a better ball.
That is true. He
got a better ball.
Yankees. Yeah. But yeah. That's a good question because most of the characters in Sandlot are pretty transparent.
Yeah.
Dennis Leary is the stepdad is the one character where you're like, not sure if he's a good dude or not.
He's not at all. Think of the first interaction that you see. The first interaction that you see between the two, Smalls goes in and asks him about teaching him how to throw. This man is in his trophy room. So he's around sports at the moment, looking at the ball and doing whatever, setting up his trophy room. He's like, yeah, that is the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
So Smalls is still trying to get his attention. And he's, trying to engage. Dude, like, okay, pretty much leave me alone. Yeah, I'll do it.
Let me ask you this.
I'll do it.
Do you think that I think he was in his own world. He was about working and getting the job done. But
he wasn't working. He was in a trophy room.
I'm not saying it's right. But what I'm saying, do you think the interactions and the relationship between he and Smalls would have been a little bit different if Smalls was more athletic?
Maybe if he was more athletic, or if he was his actual son.
Right. Well, you gotta understand. We see this.
I don't know because we don't know this dude's character outside. I played sports all my life, but thank God I had an older brother. I love my dad, but he never took me out to play baseball ever.
Right.
And so different people have different. Again, I had to watch it a couple times with my wife to be like, I don't think he's that bad of a dude. He's just one, and he's also Kevin is Smalls is of an age where it's like they gotta find common ground. Like they gotta find what makes their bond work, right? You would think naturally it would be baseball, but you also got to realize Smalls didn't pick up a baseball. He wasn't until Benny called him to play baseball. It won't like they had a baseball relationship before that. He didn't even know who Babe Ruth was.
Yeah, he only helped out on the paper route. So
right, he didn't know. Anytime he goes in the trophy room, says I got a ball, goes in the trophy room, picks up a Babe Ruth ball for them to play with. That just shows you his knowledge. Like
that's real.
One of my favorite scenes in this movie, though, one of them, and it's so many, but one of the more memorable scenes for me is, of course, when they have to when they end up in the clubhouse. So when they have to sleep over, and they're explaining everything to them about Beast and Babe Ruth and all that. That scene, we're talking about camaraderie again and youth and growing up. Does anybody notice though that they're really still selling the point about Benny and how much he loves baseball? Because when your boy Ham is in there teaching Smalls about the s'mores, if you look just like laying on the floor beside him, your boy Benny's there clutching the bat. Mm-hmm. Like he's not going anywhere without something baseball, related, man. So this movie does a great job of selling everything. It sells the fact that where we're just talking about that there are really relationships kind of like Smalls and his stepfather. It happens. It sells the fact that that Benny, there are people that's all they eat, sleep, and drink certain things. That Benny, it was baseball. The fact that they're socially awkward people, socially awkward kids. It's just so much in this. But I just call it like every time we see Benny, it's going to definitely be something baseball related. A man's laying on the floor with a bat, bro.
but I like that scene. It's not my favorite scene. I'm a very obvious, transparent person in that sense. Yeah. My favorite scene, I don't know if you have a favorite scene. My favorite scene is Night Game. Night Game is by far my favorite scene, and it's because of it's got the fireworks, the joy,
the music,
the Ray Charles. No, the Ray Charles is what makes it.
Yes,
it makes the scene what it is. So the Ray Charles, the fireworks, the Night Game, the only once a year because they don't have lights. You know what I mean? It's all just like that scene. If it was like, oh, if all's right with the world.
Yeah.
if we don't go outside and look at real reality, and you see that scene, you're like, oh, everything's right in the world. And that's my favorite scene of Sandlot, because it's beautiful, and the Ray Charles comes in at just the perfect time with the fireworks and the Night Game, and it's in slow-mo. The film is shot really well too, but they do the baseball really well. They do they shoot it really well because it's like you said, it came out in ‑93 and it's a period piece, right?
Yeah.
Like we got to remember it's a period piece, and I really, there are films today that I hesitate to show my child, even though I enjoyed them growing up, because they don't hold up well, they don't translate well. There's probably things that you have to correct as you're going through too much of it. And Sandlot's one of those ones. It's just feel good, man. And that scene is one of the most feel good moments in a really, really feel good.
Yeah, it still gets me now when I watch it. And I've seen this movie 20 times at least. It gets me now. And what adds to it, what I didn't mention was when I first saw the movie, the first time we went to see it, I saw the movie in a drive-in. All right. So imagine seeing that night scene when you're already sitting in the car. You know what I'm saying? At night, and when Ray Charles gets to sing it. So I'll never forget that. But that is my absolute favorites. And I agree with you.
The only thing you might have, you don't have to explain it, but if there was something that you could dig deep on that has changed is in the midst of changing, is the scene when Ham is arguing with the kid from the other team, and he says, "You play like a girl," and that is the ultimate insult.
The ultimate insult, right, at the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
we know saying way worse stuff now, bro.
Yeah, I mean, well, now there would be a girl on the team that is better than all of it. Like, I mean, they would go Bad News Bear style, right, to get the best woman player, girl player, and they would be on the team. If you remake, I always think about films like that. If you remade them today, what would be different? And I think one of the things that would be different is there would definitely be some girls on the team for sure.
Monet Davis would be on that joint.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a great, it well deserved and rightfully so.
What's your guys' favorite? Do you guys have a favorite character? Because more and more I watch it in this movie, my favorite character though is probably for me was Squints.
I knew it.
I love
Squints. Squints super popular.
Yes, because Squints is a dude, man. Not just because of the Wendy Peppercorn situation, which was great. That dialogue is great, by the way. We said he had kissed a woman and he kissed her hard. Like, that dialogue is like off the chain. But Squints is just like a go-getter, man. It's like he's always thinking. Like when they're late to the ballpark with the ball field that day, and Benny's like, where you guys been or whatever, and he was like, just leave me alone. I got a lot on my mind. Like after just seeing Wendy, him trying to help scheme up stuff to get the ball back later. I just Squints is my guy. Plus, we find out at the end that he actually gets the girl, And boy, does he get her. I mean, 9 kids. I mean, golly. But
Right,
yeah, so
right.
Squints is probably my favorite character in the entire movie.
Ooh. Who do you got, Source?
Benny's probably my favorite character just because he was dedicated to the game. He loved the game so much. And everything that the group did, like if he wasn't there, it could have went a different way. Because even if somebody had brought Smalls to the field, the rest of them would have just clowned him and then bullied him. That would have been the end of it. Benny was like, all right, he trash, but let me try to help him. And everybody followed his lead. The only time they didn't follow Benny's lead is when they went to the pool. That's it.
Right, because Benny wanted to play, right? Benny
Yeah, of
wanted to go
course.
play.
It was hot
He
outside.
didn't
That's
want,
dedication.
yeah, he
Yeah,
wanted
it's
to go
150
play, and they wanted to
degrees
go
out
to the
here.
pool. Yeah. Probably Benny. Probably Benny's probably my favorite character on the team for all the aforementioned things. I've been in situations where if it hadn't been for a Benny type person, I might not have been able to play or get on the field. It was definitely, and that, the interesting thing about that level of camaraderie in sports, that kind of continues as you get, that continues as you get older too. And it's very strange. I'll remember a time well after it was after high school. I had joined the service and they were playing pickup basketball games in the service. And we're all from different parts of town. So we didn't know who was good. We didn't know who was bad. And I'm short. Like I'm 5'4", 5'5", on my best days I'm 5'5". I was lighter then, I'm heavier now. But I played hoops all through school. I was a pretty decent player for my size. I was a really good player. And we would go, like, it was very strange because I needed a guy that didn't even know I was good. I needed a guy to say like, oh, you want to play? Let's, come on our team, we'll play. And when I got on the court, it changed everything. Like, because we were able to all play. And then you notice even at what's supposed to be a mature age, people look at you different because you can play. Or, you go to the court the next time, they're like, oh, I need him on my team. It's a different reaction. They had, people, even then, like I said, in the service, they were like, oh, you know what you doing after the game? Come back to our room and do this and do that. Because they knew you could play. Now you're a part of a team.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. So I look at how Benny carried the other players. He knew he was the leader of that team. Like I said, Ham and Denunez probably had the mouths. Like Benny didn't really talk too much trash. He was just about going to play, but he knew he had a bigger goal and a bigger purpose, and he was the guy that really held it together. And I think you need those types of folks. So he's probably my favorite. I did like Ham. I like Denunez as well.
Well, he's the one that's on all the T-shirts and everything at Target and stuff. I mean, he's got the classic, the classic lines. You're killing these Smalls and all that. But
yeah.
He's the only person after the movie. It's what Dennis Leary, James Earl Jones, obviously, and Ham. What is his real name? Something Hannah. I forgot his name, but there's the only three that are recognizable.
Hamilton Porter in the movie.
Yeah. His real name, though, I was trying to think of his real name because he's the only one that I recognize of the kids as doing something later in his acting career.
I think it's Patrick Reno.
Patrick Reno. That's it.
Yeah. As far as the kids, yes, my guy. What is his name? Ari. Can't think of his name right offhand. Until I can call it. They played Babe Ruth in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had quite an extensive career. Mark LaFleur, yeah. Extensive career in television. He's been on Law and Order, SVU, X-Files, bunch of stuff. Movies, a lot of movies and stuff. But yeah. As far as the kids, I guess you're right. You're definitely right about that. One thing I didn't mention though with my guy Squints though, that story, man, he's telling, in that clubhouse about
the Beast.
About the Beast. And Sal Palladores and all that. Man, that's like that's crazy. Like we've all heard those stories.
Oh yeah,
Somebody's
perfect.
blowing something up, is exaggerate. Like it's crazy. Like they put the dog under the house. Like, come on, like what would put a dog under the house? He said, how long do I gotta keep him there? Forever. Like that story is great, man. He's like the perfect kid to tell that story, glasses and all. And also did want to mention though, did you guys notice with him during the scene before they when he was faking like he was drowning and he goes to the bottom of the pool, he still has his glasses in his hand?
I didn't know. I didn't know.
He can't play about the glasses. Lose them, Jones. He's late.
He's done. He's done. Nah, I didn't notice.
You guys, and I'm pretty sure you probably do. I see people still ask this question all the time. I had somebody ask me this question a couple of years ago. The scene where Benny's in his room and he gets, gets the visit, we should say, from Babe Ruth. And Babe Ruth is talking to him and he's trying to figure out what he should do, what does everything mean? And Babe is telling him the significance of certain things. But the scene where he's leaving and he has the Hank Aaron card.
Yeah, we'll say release the cheese hat.
Yeah.
He said it. Did you guys, what the significance of that is, right? Why when he asked for the card?
Yeah. But yeah, you keep going, but I think there's a couple of themes.
Well, the main what I guess number one is significance you think about is that Hank Aaron was going to be the one that was going to end up breaking his record, right? Even though albeit it would be 12 years later, because this takes place in 1962, and he broke the record, I believe in 74, I believe it was 74. So even though, and I know people trying to make more out of whenever, like, well, how would he have known that this was going to happen? And that's whack. It's nothing. It's not whack, man. It's just a part of the movie. And if you kind of
he's a ghost. He knows what happened.
Yeah. Like, but even in that point, it's almost like even then he has that look on his face, like I'm supposed to know something about this. But a lot of people don't get it. And some people just blow it up, man. But I thought that was a pretty dope part of the movie.
Yeah, I think for a film that is doing what it was trying to do and highlight youth and coming of age and camaraderie and all of that, to do a film that we really don't talk as much about race and kind of the heaviness of that stuff, even in 1993 or 1994, to do a film where that was really a backdrop of the story is quite impressive. And like I said, and for it to hold up as well as it has today, and play it in front of our children with no hesitation, it's really impressive the way that they really did that part of the film, and they didn't ignore race, right? In the sense that Vinny the Jet Rodriguez is Latino, De Nunez is at least Afro-Latino at best. Like he's, they were all on the field together. They had the nod at the end of the Babe Ruth conversation. And then obviously at the end of the film, the Beast, when they retrieve the ball in the scene with James Earl Jones, and the Beast turns out to be Hercules, and he's just like, oh, like you just called me for it. I would like that's where Squints led him wrong, right? Because he's like, just knock on my door. I would have got all your balls. Like, it's fine. But those scenes where you learn about James Earl Jones's history in baseball and how much he loved the game, and even to the references of when you're talking about Babe Ruth, he's like, "Oh, you mean George?"
That's my line right there.
Those are great, man. And you look at the pictures that he has at the time, right? So what are you saying? Because this is, this predates Jackie Robinson as well, right? No, it does in the 60s. But it right. But for James Earl Jones character to have pictures with Babe Ruth retired in the 30s. Babe Ruth retired before Jackie broke the collarbone.
Indeed.
So they were to be even on the field together, taking pictures together, to know each other. he was much more of a Josh Gibson type player, hitter, career, right, than he was in what they were seeing in the 60s. So it was really powerful, I think, to have his story as a part of the film, and to really hammer that point home,
And to me, they didn't even have to make, like, I feel like, speaking to the racial part, they didn't have to make him black at all. It could have been anybody.
I like that he was black though.
But
I do
right,
like that. Yeah.
It had to be intentional. That had to be intentional.
Yeah, with the filmmakers, yeah.
But speaking of black baseball players, and you've done some special stuff dealing with the Negro Leagues, Chiefs, recently. If you don't mind, share some of that with us so we can get a little more aware.
No doubt. I'm really excited about kind of learning even more about the Negro Leagues. I think when you're growing up as a baseball fan, and you obviously, the first story you hear is Jackie Robinson, probably the second story you hear is Hank Aaron, right? And you understand the significance of Jackie Robinson and what he did in 1947. If you're old enough now, of a certain age, you've probably seen 42, the film. And there's parts of that film in the beginning where Jackie is playing for the Kansas City Monarchs, which is a Negro League team. I think when you learn more about what that experience was like and what those leagues, and you got to say leagues with an S, because there were multiple leagues were like, it really does change your perception of what you thought black baseball was prior to 1947. So, for example, most people think Homestead Grays, Kansas City Monarchs, Negro Leagues, and they think it's like a league like Major League Baseball that is, kind of separate. And what people, what I've learned, one of the things I had to really pick up on is that the Negro Leagues prior to integration were a series of leagues that, the first kind of really organized league was Negro National League One, that started in 1920 and went to 1931. It had an 11-year run. That was the first Negro organized black baseball league, organized by Rube Foster, who you've heard a lot about as the founder of black baseball. But that league ended. And then it took until, I want to say, 1935 for national, what would be considered, what most people think of the Negro Leagues, is that when they had the Negro American League and the Negro National League going at the same time, that went from 35 to really around 48. And that's when they had the only time they really had what they would call Negro World Series, where there's American League champion and a National League champion, and they wind up playing each other in this World Series. And so it's a long way of saying the history of the Negro Leagues is so rich, and the history of black baseball is so rich. And it's once you start learning about it, you go down the rabbit hole, you learn about the teams, you learn about the cities that they played in, the stadiums that they played in. It's just a fascinating situation, and it's a fascinating time period. And one, for current baseball fans like myself, there's almost a little sad element to it. I don't know, we're all baseball fans here, and we all happen to be black and African Americans. The high watershed mark for black baseball players was 1981. So ever since 1981, the percentage of black American baseball players in Major League Baseball has gone down. And so now there's been a smaller uptick in more recent years. And obviously there's a large increase of Latino players. But what drew me to kind of learning more about black baseball is and playing all my life, and drawn to what the Negro Leagues had done and their legacy, had a lot to do with what's happening today in the current game, and learning what kind of we went through back then, how they increased since 1947 up until 1981, and kind of increased the numbers of black baseball players, and then trying to find out what's going down. So through all that, long-winded answer, but through all that, I've been able to connect with companies around the country that sell Negro League apparel, that do commemorative, memorabilia, if you will, 2020 was a significant year. It's a centennial year of the Negro Leagues. Negro League started in 1920. Organized baseball started in 1920, and 2020 was their 100th anniversary. And unfortunately, due to the pandemic, they, 90%, 85% of everything that Major League Baseball, minor league baseball, all of these organizations were going to do to honor that centennial year was canceled. So, and it's kind of hard to do a 101-year anniversary, right? But there's some things that are still happening, and it was really unfortunate the timing for the Negro Leagues, because I think they would have had a huge, opportunity with throwback uniforms, huge opportunity with just Major League Baseball and minor league baseball in particular honoring these legendary teams and legendary players. And we're at a point now where there's only there's not, I don't know if there might be one or two Negro League players that are still alive, right? Like, so that played in couple stadiums you can still see that hosted Negro League games, but it's a legacy that will have to be led down through the museum as opposed to being able to see it firsthand.
I want to give a shout out to my man as well. In the group, in the SBP, we have Kyle Hobson. His uncle, Bill Forster's dad, actually started the first Black league in Richmond because
That's
Bill,
crazy.
Kyle's uncle, wanted to play baseball, but they wouldn't let him play. So the dad started a league, and that league still exists, I believe, today. So, and they're doing some stuff. They did some stuff actually last year with Negro League, a player or two, people that were somehow involved with the Negro League. So shout out to Bill and to Kyle as well.
It's good stuff right there. That's awesome stuff. So one of the final things for me is I sit back and look at this movie, which we all obviously enjoyed. I look at this movie and I look at, the people that made the film and how, for me anyway, it was perfect because it's a great mixture. We know it was a family movie. They teetered the line just a little bit. We get your boy Benny says the S word a couple of times in there. When they're at the pool, of course, Wendy Peppercorn is walking and they're showing her, her rear end, but you're looking at the other guys staring at her. But I think it was perfect, just to touch the line. It's a family movie, but it keeps everybody interested. It's not just for the kids. It's for the adults as well. You can watch it with the family. You can watch it by yourself. I just think that the folks that made this movie did a perfect job. The one thing that did surprise me though, and you never know all the ins and outs of everything until you kind of do some reading. But did you guys know they said that the guy, what's his name? David Marks. I can't think of the guy who made this film. Anyway, Squints, Michael Pallador.
David Mickey Evans.
David Mickey Evans, that's his name. Yeah, his friend, he had a friend, was a Pallador's kid. It was Michael Pallador, who actually tried to sue them because he felt like there was a defamation of character, upon him in this particular movie. It's crazy. It was years before I actually found that out. I'd probably seen the movies, maybe seen it 10 or 12 times before I'd actually found that out.
Yeah, and it was Squints' character, right?
Yeah, Pallador, yeah. Mike Pallador, Squints Pallador, yep.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'm trying to think about myself if I would sue somebody for having a character that was like me as a kid or in life. And I'm like, I don't know, depending on what it was, maybe. But it sounds kind of crazy.
Did he do anything like in your guys' eyes? Did he do really anything in this movie that would really, like, if that was you, that would like really piss you off? Like, I don't,
other than being a nerd, being a nerd, that's about it.
But hold on, but he wasn't really. Because he had the glasses. He wasn't that nerd.
That man had thick glasses. His name was Squints, bro. Come on, you can't sell it. I'm saying though,
but you have some nerds that are just people would classify them as nerds to be socially awkward, quiet. You can pick on them. One thing about my man Squints, I guarantee you, he might get his butt kicked, but I guarantee if you come at him, he gonna swing. There's a difference, man.
I couldn't see a lawsuit. I don't. One, the film was really endearing, I think, overall, and I don't know one person that watched the film and was like, I like everybody in the film except for Squints. Like that makes no sense. So I think that might have been some personal. I think if there was a personal thing or they felt like they needed some kind of compensation for likeness or something. I don't know.
I went around a couple of times, so, but I do believe when the last I read, the last verdict was that he didn't get anything. So that they sided with the, with the movie folks in this one. So before we get to our ratings of the movie, Chiefs, what's your final thoughts overall?
I love it. I love it again more now than I did, I think, in 1993. I wasn't doing what Source was doing in 1993.
Correct.
I wasn't doing what Source was doing in 1993, but I love the film now, and I think it's a good film for young people that, like I said, you don't even have to like baseball to like the film. Like it's a film that you can watch as a family. I know. I don't know when this is going to air, but we're going to the Diamond next week to do movies in the park, and I know Sandlot's the film. And even though we've seen it a million times, we're going to go bring our blankets. Hopefully the weather's nice, and we'll see it again. So I really think it held up well. I mean, I think the one thing that stands out to me is it's probably more popular now than it was then. Right. It's one of those films that, really took off after kind of VHS, and then it took off when people could kind of see it on cable readily available. I don't think most people peeped it, like Prime peeped it at the drive-through, based off of what they said the numbers were when they came back. So it's one of those films that has gotten a real life, now. Than it did then in '93. So, and I'm glad. I'm happy for it. I'm glad people discovered that.
I agree with that. It's a really good movie, borderline great movie, depending on who you ask. Like you said, it's still alive today. Both of my daughters love baseball, and they both love Sandlot. So that'll tell you right there.
All right. So
can I ask one question? Because why do you think? Because the Sandlot sequels are trash.
Oh,
why do you think that Sandlot couldn't maintain a even like a Mighty Ducks trajectory, right? The Sandlot sequels are trash. They were like straight to VHS, problematic. All the kids left.
Weren't they too late though?
But I think so. Maybe that was it.
Yeah, I think it's part of it. They were too late, and then it was a moment in time. It was a moment in time. And it's hard to create another moment in time like that with the same group of people as kids, And
we see that in a lot of movies, whereas, either the sequels are trash, or even in some instances where they can make a decent second movie, then they decide to go third and fourth, and those are horrible. I use Home Alone a lot. First two movies, no matter which one is your favorite, were really, really good. And then after you get past that second movie, there's a third.
Hey, bro. Take it easy.
They made a fourth movie?
Take it easy, bro. Jada, I don't think Jada's here, but if she was, she might just bust in this room and be like, bro, don't be talking about Home Alone.
Funny.
I mean, that's to me personally. I mean, I love them, but just give me the first two. It's almost like one of the movies that, to a certain aspect, that I kind of compare this movie to an extent, would be the I know it sounds crazy, but The Christmas Story, right? The Christmas Story is a classic film. Whether you're tired of seeing it, don't want to see whatever, it is a classic film. I never get tired of it. I'm one of those people who's only going to watch it on Christmas Eve and maybe Christmas Day. I don't care when it pops up. But then you go back and you find out, which most people didn't know, that they made a second movie. And you go back and try to watch that movie, and you're sitting here like, you've got to be kidding me, bro. Like, so But I don't know. The Sandlot itself, man, it was just one of those movies. The timing, like you say, everything was just well done. I'm sorry that matter of fact that as great as a performance as James Earl Jones put on in this movie, that he actually was in the second movie.
Yeah, he was like one of the only holdovers, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, but we won't hold that against him. Dude, still a great actor, man. Doesn't take away from the outstanding performance. He was, he played Mr. Myrtle in the first one. So, it is what it is. So
that's funny.
So, Chiefs, what's your favorite beverage? Type of beverage? What?
Huh?
What's your favorite beverage? Your favorite drink?
You drink beer?
Oh,
I know
beer, soda.
Not a lot. Yeah, probably die like Coke Zero. I mean,
Coke Zero. Okay.
The best.
So we do a rating
here.
That's what
Really?
We take your favorite beverage, right? So 1 to 5.
Okay.
How many? You said Coke Zero?
Yeah, that's what I'm about.
How many Coke Zeros do you give this movie?
Oh, 4.
4 Coke Zero?
Yeah, I like to do it. Look, Mike, the source knows I like to do. If you're doing 5 anything, the source magazine 5 mics is kind of how I do it. And if I'm rating on a 5 mic system, this is a strong 4 movie. This is not a 5 mic movie. It is a 4. It is a strong 4.
Indeed.
Right here with you. I actually went ahead and tapped into that 5th beer, but I couldn't get past the neck. I just got the neck, I just put the jump down. So I go 4 1/4. Mine is beer. It's gonna be 0 Coke Zeros, bro. But 4 1/4 on the brew scale.
Okay.
I'm going 4 1/2. I'll drink.
Wow.
I drink 4 beers and get to the other half and maybe not finish it for a lot of reasons, but I'm going 4 1/2. It's just so much for me in this movie. Memories, not just of seeing the movies, but some of the things me and my gang did, my youngins when we were young, the whole clubhouse thing. We never did anything as hilarious as try to hook up 3 vacuum cleaners, sneak them out of the parents' house and try to hook up 3 vacuum cleaners. But we did some crazy stuff, man. I just think that the acting was super strong. I don't really see a weak performance acting wise. I mean, Benny, man, like even towards the end, when he first meets the Beast, like face to face, did you see his face?
Yeah.
His eyes were red. It generally looked like he was about to cry. And we see later, and of course we just found out the dog ain't as big as the puppet dog that they used earlier. But I think the acting was so strong, and of course, as the Chiefs mentioned, that Ray Charles moment, that whole night baseball is ridiculous. So I'm going 4 1/2 brews.
I need to know now though. Is there a baseball movie that gets 5?
For me?
Is this the highest baseball, not sports film, but baseball related film that goes higher?
I can't remember the natural. I don't remember the natural at all, so I can't.
Natural doesn't hold up as well in my mind.
Okay.
This film holds up better, but probably because kids are involved. It's harder for adult films to hold up as well.
That's a good point.
I don't. There's not one, and I've seen tons of baseball movies. There's not one I can honestly say that comes to mind at this moment that I would say that is the absolute 5. I'm not going to spoil a lot because
what's that?
We can run down all of them real quick.
I don't want to spoil them because we've got 5 months till football.
Yeah, you got more. You got more to do.
And so I know that we've already said we're going to do a league of their own. And I'll be willing to bet that there are at least 1 more, if not 2 more, because we got some baseball fans, quite a few in the SBP that we're going to do. We're going to end up doing them the next 5 months. So all right. I don't want to spoil anything.
You got 5 months for baseball season. I don't know if they're on the list, but the 2 suggestions I'll give you. 1, because of aforementioned what we just talked about. Bingo Long and the Traveling All-Stars is one that, I'll be a fly on the wall if you ever do that one.
Okay.
And then there's a film that could possibly be my favorite baseball film. It is not a great film. It's great for me. This is a personal thing.
Moneyball.
There's a film called Long Gone.
Wow.
Long Gone?
Yeah.
Oh, Have you
Okay.
seen? I own Long Gone on DVD
Oh,
and
snap.
VHS because I had to find it. Like I had to go find the story of Stud Cantrell and Long Gone
Okay.
and Pico Stogies. That film to me personally, again, there's that's another period piece. There's some problematic things in it. But if you ever get a chance to watch Long Gone,
Okay.
oh man, that one, whoo, it's it's a special. And I will tell the last thing I'll say about that one because it's such a special film. But you guys know the comedic duo Penn and Teller.
Yeah.
And you know the whole thing about, well, I don't know which one it is, Penn or Teller, that
Penn
doesn't
talks.
which one doesn't talk.
Teller doesn't talk.
And you know, he's taken that really seriously. Like you won't catch him talking in an interview, you won't catch him talking. Since they started Penn and Teller, he doesn't talk. Like you won't catch him, outside of doing his hand over, right? He does his hand over and talk to the other comedian. He
Wow.
has a main role in Long Gone, in which he has a real acting role in Long Gone, in which he talks the whole.
Wow. Okay.
So it's Teller from Penn and Teller, but he talks like he's an actor. He's a real actor.
Yeah, you mentioned the bingo and the traveling all-star. I believe Source about a year or two ago. I want to tell you that Brian Austin brought that up. I think he's one of the diehard baseball fans in the group.
Yeah, it's an amazing film. That one's a film that I own, but I will have to say, even if I watched it tonight or watched it tomorrow, it would hit different because of all the Negro League stuff we've done over the last year. I would know more references. I would know more points and nuances of that film. So I'll probably revisit that one. Both of those films,
1976, 1977, right in there when it came out. Right? Yeah,
it is. It's a whole nother topic, and I don't want to get off. Look, no, I know we got to wrap this up, but we were the ability of Black films with Black actors to be funded and have distribution. It's in many ways it's actually harder in 2021,
right?
And it was then. It's extremely hard then, but at the time, Billy D. Williams, James Earl Jones, Richard Pryor, these are the biggest stars in the world for our community and our culture. They were all in this film and more. And they were able to get the film made and get it out. It's just, the way that the world works today, we just don't know, that might be on Netflix. It might be on Amazon Prime. It might not be. But it's a different process to get films made and released. But it's a great film. And so if you ever do it, let me know.
Hey, Cheats, drop your social media real quick.
Instagram is Cheats_RVA. It's the Cheats movement on Twitter. I've like all of everyone in 2021. Twitter is not my it's not my home as much as it used to be.
Not in
regards to just sanity and mental health. You got to back away from some of that stuff. But Instagram Cheats_RVA, and then everything I do, still pretty heavily music influenced, but it's branched out to some other stuff. You can find it on thecheatsmovement.com.
No doubt. And
we Knicks.
We appreciate it.
Go Knicks. Gotta get it in.
It. I'll be boy Prime. You can catch me on Instagram and Twitter at Prime SBK, as well as on Facebook on the Sports Bar Podcast SBP. Get with us, and we got a brand new YouTube page. There's not a lot of content on it just yet, but please like and subscribe. We're going to get there. And what up, Source?
S Smitty Source on Instagram. Don't worry about Twitter, even though it's S Smitty Source. But Instagram, go there, or in the Facebook group. Join the Facebook group, as Prime just mentioned, the Sports Bar Podcast. Jada just got here. I'm gonna tell her what you said about Home Alone.
Man, don't do that, bro. No doubt. And y'all just remember, heroes get remembered, but legends never die. Yeah.
Oh.